What's up, guys? Nate Dreiling here with Utah State. First off, finally game week for us. It's been a crazy summer, as you guys know. So the kids are excited. Fall camp went great, came out injury free, and now it's just getting ready for Robert Morris, who if you look at their record, it doesn't look like much opponent, but you look at actually the team that you're playing, it's going to be a great team coming in. They won 4 games last year, and they're still picked third in the conference this year. So they have a lot of returning starters. That's going to be a challenging for us, but as we know, it's never about the opponent; it's always about us. And I'm excited for these kids to put on a show and show this ag community what we're made of. So let's open for some questions.
Coach, I'll ask one. This is Patrick Mayhorn from the Egg Ship. I want to ask specifically about one of those returning players at Robert Morris, wide receiver Noah Robinson. Big body, very hard to get down the ground, very hard to keep up with. What have you seen from him, and how are you going to have to kind of adjust to what he could do on the outside?
Yeah, I think 6'3", right around 195 is kind of what we have him at. He's a good job. He's an unbelievable job. He's one of their biggest third down targets as well. So you're gonna have to defend him on every single down. That's the number one priority for us is taking him away and making the quarterback go to the second option. About the same thickness as Jalen Royal, just a little bit taller, but he's got great ball skills. So he is a player that has stayed at the FCS level and slid through the cracks. That's going to be a challenge for us for sure.
Mr. Island, Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. There was a lot of oars on the defensive depth chart, which I was kind of anticipating just talking to the positional coaches over the last week and a half. Is that something you anticipate being fluid throughout the season?
It's hard to say. Right now, we feel really good about the depth that we have. And now it's just going to be up for those guys to determine who's going to be the starter week in and week out. As you guys know, with our offense, we're going to play 90 something, 95 to 100 plays on defense. So you'll need two sets of starters. So whether they're out there the first play or not, we know that we have two sets of starters, and it'll always be rotating. It might even be based off of, is it a run team, is it a pass team, all that stuff. The biggest thing about that depth chart for us that we feel good about is we listed a lot of oars because we feel comfortable playing a lot of people.
Alex Behar with KSL. Nice to talk to you. I was talking to a couple of your players the other day, and they were mentioning that like one of the things that you emphasized during fall camp was just kind of like having some fun, having some joy, and that maybe you were really instrumental in coordinating or coming up with really fun kind of team camaraderie ideas. And I'm kind of curious, what are some of the things that you guys did to over the course of fall camp and maybe even a little before to kind of perpetuate the idea of fun?
Yeah, well, I think it's not just having fun, but still finding a way to compete in things. So we had a NCAA tournament challenge, right? So everyone has the video game. Every single player played it like it was a college basketball bracket and worked our way to the championship. We played the final 4 games at the movie theaters here. Surprised them. They thought they were going to see a movie, and we ended up playing the video game there. So that was cool. We had a barbecue contest, cookout contest among all the position groups. Just we wanted things where the guys would be around people, maybe not that they would normally be around, still competing, right? So we actually do get some understanding new people, and now it's not just a name. Now you know who you're actually playing for, because at the end of the day, like talent is awesome, but talent's not going to win you games. It's how much you love one another and how hard you're going to play for each other. So that was a big emphasis for fall camp.
Contest.
Who won the contest? Jalen Royals lost to Courage on a last second field goal. It was a tough ending. Fun win for Courage though.
Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily. I showed up late, so I'm sorry if you addressed this question already. But with facing a team in FCS, there's obviously a reputation of these games of being blowouts. But with that in mind, what things do you want to try and accomplish, maybe aside from what the final scoreboard may look like, as far as the difference in points, assuming that do win?
Yeah, no, we don't assume anything. That's why I told him 2 days ago. I said, "Raise your hand if you lost a football game to someone you weren't supposed to," and obviously everyone had their hand up. So that's one thing that we'll always preach. It has nothing to do with the opponents. It always has to do with us and how we're getting better. And I think you're spot on, Jason. That it's not going to be about the score. It's going to be about the process and what our tape actually looks like. We put a lot of time in fundamental and technique and little details that we feel like make a huge difference for us. So that's what we're going to be really diving in when we evaluate the film on Sunday. But ultimately, it's just a chance for the kids to get back out there and have fun again in front of this home crowd. It's going to be my first game here at Maverick Stadium too, so I'm sure I'm going to be a little antsy and juiced up. So we're just excited for it to finally get here and to perform.
Jarek Franson with 106.9 The Fan, and just how has the helmet communication worked out for you guys and your quarterbacks, and kind of working through the logistics of that, and how would you assess how it's working?
Yeah, probably a lot easier, I think, than what I thought it would be. We made a lot of calls this offseason to NFL teams on how they use it, what information's good, what information's too much. And it's defensively, we obviously get our call in, so we're not going to have to signal anything. You don't have to worry about people stealing your signals, which is huge. And then that communication as far as alignments, right? What to alert for. I do think the upper hand is to the offense because you have the play caller talking to the quarterback on every single look before the ball is snapped, and that's going to be hard to, overcome defensively. So you have to be on point with your disguises. But it'll make sure that we don't get beat because of our misalignments, I would say. And then offensively, it's interesting when you have a quarterback like Petrus who's so smart and he's on his 7th year of college football and he coached last year. So it's like, what information is too much for him, or do we just let him go to work? So making sure that we don't overload him because he sees everything so fast anyways. But I think with Cephalo in his ear, man, we're going to be able to operate at a very good tempo, probably even faster than last year and really open things up.
Trent Load with Deseret News. You talked at Mountain West Media Days about how it might take 3 or 4 games to figure out what this team actually is, who they actually are. Do you still think that's true, or do you think you guys maybe have figured out a little bit more with fall camp?
We are getting closer to where we want to be as far as physicality. When people turn the film on, we want them to say this is the most physical team that Utah State's ever fielded, right? And that's our number one objective: stop the run the ball, right, and then you get your playmakers after that. Really pleased with fall camp with the O line and D line and how they battled. And that just goes back to the depth I feel like we have right now. It's going to take a lot of bodies, and I feel like we have a good 8 O linemen that we can play, and we have 5 to 10 guys up front that we can rotate in and stay fresh and always bring it. But we know if we want to get back to winning Mountain West championships, we have to stop the run on defense, right, and be able to run the ball on offense. So that's our emphasis.
Jason Walker again. The secondary on defense, that's where a lot of the returning experience is, especially guys who returned from last year's squad. Like, how important is it for that unit to be able to lead the defense through these early games?
The biggest thing, right, that you see early on as you watch even like week 0 games is there's big plays happen because of bad eyes and bad communication. So how do you overcome that? And that's typically with experience, like you're talking about. So it's not just guys that played here, but guys that we've brought either with me from New Mexico State that's been in the system or that's played around college football. So we feel like we have a mature group on the back end, right? And hopefully that can limit these explosive plays early on, because it does take some time to get your eyes settled. You're always antsy the first game or two, and making sure our focus is on point. But even more so with the helmet communication, now we can really dive in on that back end and make sure they're locked in on their keys and in the call that we want. So it'll be a fun group, a bunch of playmakers back there. I think the crowd's going to have a fun time watching them.
Riley and Jason Turner from the Herald Journal again. I just wanted to ask you, just looking back at the 3 weeks of fall camp, who were maybe some of the biggest pleasant surprises, whether they were certain players or positional groups?
I would say, McConaughey, our boundary safety, has had a really good fall camp. He came to us from Hutchinson Community College. He was a 1-year player there. He's got 3 years to play for here for us. So he's kind of been playing behind Jordan Vincent, who's been in the system with me since New Mexico State. So he's got a great teacher right in front of him, and he's going to have an extremely bright future here. Then you look at the D line. You have Taz and Migo and Bo. You have Colin Vaughn and you have Isaiah Bruce. I think just how many bodies we got up top, and then with Gabriel Iniguez leading the way, I'm really pleased with how far our defensive tackles have progressed since spring ball. It was a concern coming out of spring, so we signed a couple more guys. But those guys have competed, they've worked hard, and now they should have a chance to be one of our strongest platforms.
Alex again with KSL. I understand there was a talent show the team had, so I'm curious what was your talent if you displayed one, and also what was kind of like, who was the guy who was most surprising to actually participate in it?
Yeah, no, I didn't have any coaches do it. I didn't want to steal the show, Alex. You know that. We had someone dress up as John Cena versus the Undertaker in a full blown cage match. That was phenomenal. We had a couple people doing magic tricks, jokes. There was some impersonation. So it's so funny because it's all the new players, right, that got here after spring ball. So it's the first time these guys really get I guess, show their personality to the rest of the team. Their position group knows them, but no one outside of that. So it's such a cool thing watching them open up and then watching the team, kind of welcome in. And that's kind of the last stage before you're officially a part of the football team. So I don't know if we crowned a winner, but it was a very good performance by all.
I think to follow up on a previous question, I think I didn't ask it specifically. Who won the barbecue contests?
Barbecue contest, that actually came down to the wire there. The linebackers came. They made some waffles with sausage with some sugar on top and bacon all over it. So they walked away. The specialist, I believe, took second. Jacob Garcia, our captain long snapper, he is like a next level chef. He made some type of lamb tacos, which I thought would steal the show, but the little Eggo waffles end up winning it.
Jarek Franson once again. And what was your reaction to the Cal themed helmets that you guys get to wear this opening?
I know.
Saturday?
I found out, I feel like after you guys, I had to open my phone to find out. So that was a pretty tight secret here. First thing I told my wife was I'm going to wear my cowboy boots and cowboy hats for the game. And she shot that down. So I am now regrouping on what I'm going to do, but I'm excited. Both my grandparents were farmers. I grew up on a farm. So it's cool. And obviously being out here for this Cache Valley, and how big the ag department actually is here, it's going to be fun for the environment. And I see t-shirts getting sold all over town with them. So we're going to take it and run.
Hey, Coach, Patrick Mayhorn again. I want to ask about Noah Flores. He was put on scholarship earlier this month. He's second on the depth chart at cornerback. What has he done for you this offseason? What was kind of the thing that sold you on putting him on scholarship and moving him up the ranks?
I think it's what he hasn't done. He literally hasn't messed up since I've been here. He had a phenomenal spring, was right on that fringe, 2 deep, 3 deep, and then fall camp just continued to get better and better and better. And he's one of the hardest workers on the team. Everyone loves him. He's a guy that we'll trust to put out there whenever it is. So he's going to have his first big moment to play here on Saturday, and it's going to be well deserved. Putting him on scholarship was awesome. We snuck his family up here. His mom and dad were here for the moment as well. So that was a special moment for him, and we sure appreciate him.
Dryling, Jason Turner again. I just wanted to. I noticed on the depth chart that you were talking about injuries, but Tavo was the starter at right guard during both scrimmages. Is that something where, and he's not on the depth chart now, is that something where he's a little banged up right now, or some other guys just really progressed over the last week and a half?
Yeah, he's just a little banged up, so he's just rolling day by day, and we'll see where he's at. Hopefully, we'll have him ready. But that kind of goes back to how we feel about the depth at the O line. It's kind of a next guy up, and if we need someone to step in for a game, then that won't be an issue. But once he is back full force, he's had an unbelievable fall camp, and I think he has got a chance to be one of the better offensive linemen in the Mountain West.
Franson, one more time. How do you feel like through this course of fall camp, the roles and assignments for this coaching staff have kind of come together and been executed over this last month?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me was obviously I got a hat in a different ballpark that I'm not used to, right? So I had to be able to delegate a lot more. We added a couple coaches since I got named the interim, and Dave Weimers and Troy Morrill, and they've both done a fabulous job on their respective side of the ball. So it's been a lot more trust on these coaches to pick up some stuff when I'm not there. But then again, I feel like the staff we have in place, I'm so confident in them and what they do and how they teach that they're going to get these players in the right spot, whether I'm in that room or not. So it's fun. Everything's coming together, right? And we're finally ready for our time in the spotlight here on Saturday. Anything else?
Sorry, Jason Turner again. I just had one quick question. I don't know, you probably haven't had a chance to see much film, but I know Robert Morris didn't allow a lot of yards last year. I think it was like 340 yards a game. So if you've had a chance to really kind of watch film on their defense last year, what about their defense stood out?
Yeah, I think that they're very, very, very physical. They play a 4-man front. They love blitzing on 3rd and long, 3rd and XL. But on mixed down, 1st and 2nd down, they just play it. I don't want to say safe, but they're not very aggressive because they're very good at doing their assignment. Kind of the same approach we take is get to 3rd down and go win 3rd down, and handling their job. So hats off to their defense and their head coach on how they teach it. But that's what I'm saying. Like they won 0 games 2 years ago, 4 games last year. They're going the spot that they want to go. It's going to be a very good opponent coming in here to Maverick Stadium. And like you said, if you dig into the stats and look at the returning players coming, this is a group that I think is going to have a fun season in the FCS level. Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys. See you Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. This is Jason Walker with Cash Philly Daily. Let's just start off with how exciting is it to finally hit game week?
Yeah, we're excited. It's finally here. We've been in fall camp the past 3 weeks, and then spring ball, and then throughout summer training and stuff, just playing each other. So we're excited to get out there and play somebody else for the first time. So
Kind of a follow-up, just first impressions. I don't know how much film or game planning you've done with Robert Morris, but with their offense, what do you see out of them so far?
yeah, they have a great offense. Got a couple great players on their team. Their tight end's really good, and just all kind of collectively, they're pretty sound. So we got to bring our A game. Anything can happen at any time, obviously. So as long as we prepare how we need to, and we kind of do what we need to do on our side of the ball, I think we'll be pretty successful. Quick one, maybe.
Sorry, Eric Franson, 106.9 fan. It's been a month of practices. Just how would you assess how the defense has come together over this last month with a lot of new guys, but a lot of returning guys too?
Kind of everybody's been here honestly since spring ball. So a few have trickled in here and there, but we're pretty sound. I think the biggest thing about our defense this year is, we're tight. We're a brotherhood, and that's what you need to be, successful and have a great defensive team, and just a great team in general. So we look pretty good. We obviously there's room for improvement and stuff like that, but as far as we came now, I'm excited to see what we can do. We got a lot of talent. We're deep in every position. We got great 1s and 2s and 3s, obviously. So I'm excited to see what we can do against somebody else other than our offense. It's been great playing our offense in practice and stuff like that because we're just both getting better. So we got one of the best receivers in the country, Jalen Royals, and we got a few more great receivers and running backs like that. So playing those guys have definitely helped us get prepared for this season.
Just as a follow-up, Coach talked about how he wants his team to be more physical defensively. How are you seeing evidence of that?
Yeah, he expresses that to us every day. He wants to be the most physical team in the Mountain West and, really the country. So I feel like we've been taking that on. It's it's what you got to do at the end of the day. I mean, it's football. You know, you got to put the pads on. You got to go out there and hit somebody. So I feel like we've been doing great with that so far. Like I said, obviously room for improvement in every aspect of everything. But you know, as far as that comes, we've been doing a good job.
Alex Vehar with the KSL. How much motivation do you guys have as a team over the preseason pick that you guys are going to finish seventh in the conference?
Yeah, I didn't even know that, to be honest. And I don't care about all that. That's just a number on a piece of paper. So people gonna have to see us. So that's all I got to say to that.
And Jason Walker again. Coach Darling has talked about having the importance of having depth. What have you seen from the depth of this team? You know, with the basically the two deep of the defense.
Yeah. It's been great. Like I said, we got a lot of talent. So it just comes down to learning the scheme, knowing the scheme, you know, inside and out. And I feel like everybody on our defense can do that. It's a simpler defense. You know, we really just going out there and making plays and run to the football at the end of the day. So I feel really good about who we have, depth wise, and kind of just subs and all that. It's been great, and I see what we can do, and I'm excited to see what we can do against, you know, somebody else.
Let's go. One more question. Obviously, a lot of expectations for you. You had a good season last year. What growth have you tried to make as a player to build on what you've done so far in your career?
Yeah, kind of just becoming a better teammate in general, being a better leader, listening more, and then obviously the few things that I've wanted to work on is, you know, tackling and, you know, just the fundamentals and, you know, the scheme of things of, you know, just football in general of IQ. So, you know, I've been working on those things, and I feel like, you know, I've earned a few more of my teammates' respect with, you know, kind of being able to listen to them and, you know, talk to them and just open up about my feelings at the end of the day, because that's what it's about. You know, football is one thing, but you know, I'm gonna remember my teammates for forever. You know, so I think that's the main kind of things that I've been working on. You know, going towards since last season and the last few seasons I've been up here at Utah State, and I feel very confident in, you know, kind of the relationships I've built and what I've done this far. So I'm excited to see what we can do. Like I said, we're a tight team this year, and that's what you need to be successful. So it should be fun.
Got one more. I know this probably doesn't apply to you, but the in-helmet communication.
Uh huh.
How are you observing that on the defensive side, but also seeing how that affects the offense?
Defensively, it's cool. I wish I had the mic in my helmet, but nah, it's cool. The linebackers have it, and you know they just got to communicate to us, and I think it makes it easier at the end of the day for us because you know all he's got to say is, you know, the play call, and we can relay that, and we don't got to look to the sideline and stuff like that. Offensively, I really don't know. I haven't talked to Spence or whoever else has the mic in their helmet. So, but I'm sure they love it too. So.
Of helmets, what did you think of the cow themed helmets?
Yeah, I think they're pretty cool. I mean, it's different. No, I don't. Yeah, it's different. I think we're wearing them like the first game. I don't even know, but it'll be cool. I think so.
This is Jason Walker with Cash Philly Daily. Just want to ask about the offensive line as a whole. A lot of you guys are returning from last year, pretty much all the starters. What kind of growth have you guys tried to make as a unit to, you know, be the best that you can be this year?
This year we mainly focus on more of our technique, mainly because we're not the biggest or the strongest O line, but we are athletic in a sense. So our coach really emphasizes like on how our technique is against certain players on D line or our DN. So, and I also feel like because we're one of the closest group on the team, in my opinion, just because we all know each other, all know each other's backgrounds, so that plays a big part on the field for us. So we already have the chemistry, but learning the technique and getting our playbook down, that's really what we're emphasizing on this year, and it's been working so far in the spring. So yeah.
Jason Turner from the Herald Journal. I just wanted to ask you how much it means to you to be named a captain, to be selected a captain by your teammates.
It was really an honor. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell y'all, I cried because if you met me my freshman year, I'm nothing like I am right now. I was a head case and I didn't really listen as much, but seeing my number up on the screen, it caught. It caught me off surprise because I just wanted to be everybody's just friend on the team, but them naming me captain, that was really an honor and something I could tell my kids one day. So that's something I'm proud of and something that my last name could be proud of. So yes, sir, it's an honor.
I'm gonna ask about the offense. What do you guys want to show in this first game? Like, what do you want to show the fans as far as you guys' capabilities on offense?
First, I would like to say how close we are because I feel like our offensive side we're very close. Like our O line can kick it with our wideouts and running backs, and after practice we always say we love each other because that's how close we are. So I want to just show our chemistry on the field and how it works in our play, and then for our schemes, I think we'll show how athletic we can be as O linemen. Like I'm really good in space, so they might pull me more. We have a lot of screens, and we want to show our RPO game and show how our quarterback Spence can really work in the pocket, and we'll just be as protectors.
Hey, Eric Franson with 106.9 The Fan. What was your reaction to the Cal themed helmets you guys get to wear this Saturday?
I liked them. You know, they're cool. It caught me off guard because I know it started as an April Fool's joke, but it grew on me. It grew on me. I like it. Anything for the fans. So I can't wait to rock it this Saturday.
Just as a follow up, speaking of helmets, the in helmet communication that the quarterback gets, how has that changed, or has it changed how you guys communicate going into every play?
That was a real game changer because I just ID the front and the mic, and sometimes I can't see what's outside of my tackle. So Spence will give us a heads up of, all right, we're gonna mic outside the box, and then that will change our assignments as an O line and who I work with as a center. So it really did come in handy into our game. So I can't wait to use it in a real life situation on Saturdays and Fridays.
Alex with KSL. Coach was talking about how he set up like a barbecue contest and like an NCAA video game tournament and the talent show and all these kinds of things that are like fun but also kind of competitive environments and are supposed to get everybody getting to know each other really well. From your perspective, what value does that have to this team? And if you did the talent show, if you did anything in the talent show, what did you do?
So I'm gonna start with the talent show one. I was the MC because Miss Rachel thought I had a lot of juice, so she wanted me to be the MC for that. So that was interesting. It was a very fun talent show because it really brought people from just different backgrounds and different parts of the United States, even around the country or other countries. We got to come closer as a team, and it made everybody laugh as well with the coaches. So I feel like we got closer that day. For the cooking competition, we lost. We were the last ones. We made dry tip and freedom with potatoes. They were decent, but not to our judges. But just going to Smith's with our team and just seeing everybody there was really fun because they're like my best friends, and I feel like I can go out with them anywhere. So it was really fun that day. I feel like this summer we've been through a lot, but we also did a lot of things that help us get closer as a squad.